kind of typical for a tournament where you want to get even distribution through all of your players.
Yeah, and in a tournament where you're only playing 3 games total, you're not necessarily going to see counting stats that pop off the page, and you're not necessarily going to see long-term trends. But I do think it's worth noting that both of these quarterbacks averaging just over 100 yards a game in their first 2 games. Both of these offenses, as we said in the open, have leaned heavily on the rushing attack and on a group rotation of running backs who have kind of all made an impact. So it'll be interesting to see on both sides if that trend continues tonight or if we see them open it up through the air a little bit more. I would point out too, it's a pretty blustery evening tonight in Edmonton. We've got the flags around the edge of the stadium rippling, and this stadium is notorious for the wind kind of circling a little bit within the bowl. So it'll be interesting to see if that affects things at all in both the passing and kicking game.
And there you see the helicopter fly pass, and that gets these fans, whether they're Canadian fans, Japanese fans, or a number of the fans here that have come from around the world that have traveled exceptionally well. Full credit to the Australian fans, by the way, for traveling so well. Saluting to the helicopter fly past. Canada will receive and start off. And for Warren Craney, one of the things that he said to his team in their final team meeting last night, that they are not going to get off to a slow start like they did against Austria. They have to come out fighting. No slow starts for Team Canada.
Absolutely not, and that's exactly how Japan victimized the U.S. in their semifinals. So you know that they're going to be ready to go. This Canadian squad's obviously going to have to battle some jitters playing in front of the home fans, but I think they're well prepared for it. There was a pretty good crowd at their semifinal as well, so this is now a comfortable environment for them. They've played in this building for all 3 of their games, so there's no glaring reason why the Canadians should be uncomfortable, aside from, of course, the magnitude of the game, but that affects both sides equally.
There you see Pepe Gonzalez, full name, Jose Alejandro Gonzalez Garza. We're just going to call him Pepe for this one.
I mean, I think that's the easy call to make, and honestly, a great nickname. Pepe is an awesome nickname. So, yeah, out of Andre Gosset in the CEGEP ranks, you'll see and hear a lot of CEGEP players on tonight's broadcast. He is but one of them.
So Canada wearing the all-red uniforms, going from your broadcast left to right. Japan in the all-white uniforms with red socks and red numerals, as we get ready for the final chapter of this World Junior Football Championship. Zion Dogbe Brown will take it at his own 6. Across the 15, dodges at the 20. Can he find some daylight? Gets up to the 30, dodges another tackle across the 40, still on his feet, into Japanese territory. What an opening kickoff for Zion Dogbe Brown of 44 yards into Japanese territory.
Jim, what a fitting open to this contest, because as you know, I wanted to talk about Dogbe Brown off the open in the broadcast and didn't have quite the time to squeeze him in, but he has been a big play machine for Canada so far, both on the ground and through the air on offense. He's one of that group of running backs I alluded to open the broadcast, and you see him make his mark already on special teams. Great strength on his feet for the diminutive back out of the Calgary Colts.
Canada comes out with an H-back, 2 receivers to the left side, 1 to the right side for Gonzalez to work with, and they will put it on the ground with Leonard LeMay into that Japanese defense, and he will squeeze out about 3 yards. Expect Canada to start grinding away at this Japanese defense because they have the size advantage in the trenches with that host O-line.
Absolutely. I think that is the obvious approach to take from a coaching staff perspective to open this game. You do have a size advantage up front. Test this Japanese front and see if they can hold up against what has been a very strong rushing attack so far. And as we mentioned, you can rotate out up to 4 backs that have gotten significant touches in this tournament already for Canada.
2nd and 7 Canada. Ball at the Japan 41-yard line. As Gonzalez will look to the air, he was seeking Carignan, but that was neatly broken up by Yude Naka. Naka, who sees duty on kicking as the kicker, as the punter, and also in the defensive backfield.
Yeah, 16 comes out of nowhere here. That's a really great break on the ball as the intended receiver there, Carignan, does a little bit of a pivot route, settles down, and then works back to the outside of the field. Ball was in a pretty good place, but Naka just makes a really good play on the ball there to break it up and get a fingertip on it. Brings up 3rd and about 6 for the Canadians here.
Gonzalez once again in shotgun. Let's see if he goes to the air here. He will, has some time, rolls out of the pocket, throws, finds his man, complete. It's Charles Williams at the 25, and he's immediately stopped, but not before he gets a gain of 15 and a first down. However, there is a flag in the Canadian backfield back at the 50.
And the early signal appears to be a hold that's going to bring this back. Unfortunately, kind of the risk that you run when you're extending plays like this, I didn't see that very clearly on the replay there, but wipes out a significant impact already from the 2 Andre Grasset gentlemen, the teammates there, Pepe Gonzalez and Charles Williams.
Look at the back. Offense number 77. 10-yard penalty, really 3rd down.
Benjamin Damour, the guilty party out of Montreal, the right guard. That will march the ball back and turn it into a 3rd and 16 facing Canada.
Didn't see a lot there. There was a bit of a crash between the 2 Japanese rushers. He was in the vicinity, but I don't know that he did a lot to affect the play. But it is what it is, and Canada back on their own side of midfield needs to get a chunk here on 3rd and long.
Williams wide to the right side, Falconer wide to the left. Gonzalez has time over the middle and over the head of Carignan down at the 30-yard line, and that will bring up a punting situation for Canada.
Yeah, just overthrew him there. Carignan did break open. Just at the timing of the throw there was really nice too. Carignan broke open just as he threw the ball, but he just sailed him a little bit. One thing I've noticed early on here, the Japanese secondary has been quite physical with the Canadian receivers. I've been impressed with that element of their game early on here, and just a little bit of a misfire from Gonzalez, gonna force Canada to punt.
Jaden Rice into punt, averaging 46.2 yards per punt. Waiting back there is Yuto Yoshida at the 10. He'll play it on the bounce, and he will get bounced immediately as he touches the ball by Bright Rakundo. So not ideal field position for Japan to start out their first drive at their own 11.
Yeah, and I believe I saw number 7, Ben Blaze, in on that. He has been an impact player for this Canadian defense in this tournament and makes the play downfield there. For the Canadian fans, of course, you see your first example there, no yards rule in the American game. So the Japanese returner, as soon as he chose to catch that ball, it was live, and the Canadians finished it effectively.
Only 2 wideouts in this formation for Japan on this first down play as Kikuchi is into the game, and he zips it across. Is it complete? Yes, it is, to Akihiro Ota. So Kikuchi, the unlikely starter for Japan, he hasn't had the same number of reps as Kobayashi, but expect to see both these Japanese quarterbacks into the system here.
Well, and I like the look personnel-wise, too. You get both of Japan's tight end types in Ota, who made the catch, and Ibuki Yahagi, number 92 on the field there. Bit of a jumbo set from the Japanese offense to start out.
On first down, immediately tagged was Takemi Minobe, one of the leading offensive producers, both as a pass receiver and as a running back, and that'll be good for no gain.
Yeah, I said it previously, you don't want to read too much into 2 games. That's not really much of a trend, but I think it's worth noting Minobe leading the Japanese team in receptions through 2 games with 8. The Japanese throw to their running backs a lot, almost half of their completions in the first 2 games to their various running backs, something to watch out for here.
Million liberating the ball there for the pass breakup. 2nd and 10, Japan. The pass complete to Minobe, and he will gain about 5 and get them closer to that first down marker.
Canadians sitting back in the secondary there a little bit in 2nd and long, letting the completion happen, rallying up on the ball. Nice clean tackle there. You feel a lot better about that in the Canadian game when this is 3rd and 4. But in this American set, of course, the Japanese get another play here in a manageable 3rd and 4 to try and convert.
Iwasaki wide to the right side. And Kobayashi wide to the left on play action. It zipped over the middle, complete to the big H-back, Ibuki Yahagi from Hosei University. and he gets a gain of 10 and keeps the sticks moving for Nihon.
Like the play design there, just a little simple. Might have been an RPO. I don't know if there ever was a run read or if that was a design pull. Hard to tell sometimes, but you just run Yahagi right up the seam there, and it's all about timing. Hitting it in between that first level of the defense and before he gets to the secondary, before the safety can close. Really nice throw there by Kikuchi. He's having a solid first drive here.
And an impressive drive that started at their own 11, now at the midfield stripe. First down for Japan. Yahagi in motion. The pitch to Minobe, follows the blocks and gets a good push for a gain of close to 6 yards.
And I think you're continuing to see that the unsung hero is the real key for Japan's offensive effectiveness here is those two H-backs. This time it's Yahagi, 92, and Ota, both out in front of that. If they can both block and be a factor in the receiving game, as we've already seen early in this one, then the Japanese offense is going to have some really nice balance here today.
Lots of options for Japan on 2nd and 4 from Team Canada's 44-yard line. They hand it to Urushibara with his first carry of the afternoon and a gain of close to 3.
That's right, Urushibara. We haven't called that name yet. As we mentioned off the top of the broadcast, though, he's been the rushing leader for the Japanese, not just the Japanese, the entire tournament so far. A whopping 244 yards and 4 touchdowns through the first 2 games. Canada keeps it tight there, forcing another third down here for the Japanese.
Well, this is a test of strategy versus size on this third down at about 4 feet, facing Team Japan. Yahagi in motion. Urushibara takes it over the 40 and backs across that line that he needed to get the first down.
Yeah, Canada may have to be prepared with a little bit of a personnel adjustment on their defensive front. If this is going to be what Japan is going to continue to roll out, which is what in the American game we typically call 12 personnel, this may be something the Canadians have to kind of beef up and get another linebacker on the field. They're in a base 43. They do have 3 linebackers, but if it's going to be this run heavy with 2 H-backs, you might want a 4th to try and change things up for Japan.
Kikuchi back to pass, has all kinds of time. He's got a man open deep, but overthrows him down at the 10-yard line. He was looking for Yoshie Takahashi, and in the neighborhood was Million, and Million already with a pass breakup. This kid is turning 18 this year. He's one of the youngest kids in the tournament.
And he has been excellent for Canada, including a pick 6 in their game against Brazil. Really impressive showing so far for 31 in red.
First time we've seen a double slot set for Japan on 2nd and 10. The pitch goes to Minobe, and he scrambles his way ahead for a nice gain of about 7 yards over on that far sideline.
Really well-structured run game being shown off so far from Japan there. Is that you just get a traditional speed option. Really well done by Kikuchi. It was well done by the Canadian defender there. That was Jeffrey Kabalambi. But there wasn't a second fill defender to pick up the running back on the pitch, so they get a nice chunk there and move it from 2nd and 10 to 3rd and 3.
Japan just chipping away at this Canadian defense on the march. This drive started at their own 11-yard line. 2 receivers wide to the left side. Canada showing pressure on that right side. Kikuchi has time over the middle. Incomplete.
He had his man, too.
Yeah, Momota was there, and the timing was just off, and that'll bring up 4th and a long 3.
Canada did bring the heat up front there, and it was a clean pocket, but it may have just been enough visual pressure for Kikuchi to push that throw off, as number 11, Momota, the intended receiver, had settled down in a soft spot. He'd found his zone. Kikuchi just missed him, and that forces what looks to be a punt here for Japan.
Yeah, Yuta Naka in to punt with the wind at his back. He tries to chip it, and it'll bounce inside the 10. And will be downed at the 1-yard line. Great special teams by Team Japan. Pin the Canadians deep as Canada will have to dig out from the shadow of their own goalpost when we return to the World Junior Championship on IFAF TV and TSN in Canada. let's tell you something here. Football in Japan at the university and college level is serious stuff. They have over 200 universities playing football at the top level. The national championship, like the Koishin Bowl, can draw up to 45,000 people, Gord.
Absolutely, and you compare that to 27 Canadian universities playing ball, and it feels like this might be David and Goliath in the opposite direction of what maybe most of the Canadian fans might have thought going in. And of course, you know, significant American influence in Japan over the last almost 100 years now has helped set the game up for success in that country as well.
Yeah, over 90 years worth of history in the gridiron game. Canada starting out from their own 1-yard line, and they might make it to their own 2 after that carry by Leonard Lemay.
Yeah, interesting to see Lemay get the first 2 carries here today. We thought that we might see more of Charles Fortin or Nicolas Postel, but we have not really seen those yet today. Canada using the H-back Charles-Olivier Cyr on quite a few of their snaps early on here. I would like to see Canada commit a little heavier to the run game. Again, we noted that has driven their attack in the first 2 games. I would like to see them stick with that ethos early on here and try and establish things up front.
Split backs for Canada to work with on 2nd and 8. They'll go to the flat, complete for Lemay, and he can't break away after a gain of about 3 yards, as tracking him down was Toshiaki Ito.
So nothing spectacular these first 2 plays out this time around for Canada, but mission accomplished in that you've gotten it out of the shadow of your own goalpost a little bit here, giving yourself a little bit of breathing space. Of course, in the American game, you know, taking a safety on 4th down in this situation, not as common a practice as it would be in the Canadian game. So you're looking for the conversion here, and they've made it a manageable 3rd and 5 to try and convert and keep things rolling.
See if Gonzalez goes to the air. Yes, he will on this 3rd and 5 play. Throwing incomplete behind his receiver, Jordan Faulkner, out of Calgary, Alberta. And it will be punting time for Canada. Jaden Rice, they will really lean on his toe with his 46.2-yard average.
Yeah, what you're seeing here is, whereas I praised the timing of Gonzalez on his missed throw on the first possession, he's late on this throw. This is just a move the chains type play. In fact, a lot of teams will just call it chains, and they'll send their receivers to run to the 1st down marker and sit down. And he just, it looked like Faulkner was maybe his 2nd read, and he just gets there a little late, allows the coverage to close in.
Jaden Rice kicking into the teeth of the wind. And that one's pulled down by Yoshida. And we'll get a return of about 5 yards, but great field position for Japan to start out with at the Canada 42.
Yeah, a good coverage again by the Canadian punt coverage unit there. A couple good showings for them on the first 2 punt teams for Canada so far. It'll be interesting to see with Japan's offense coming back on the field. Are we going to continue to see this, I would say, a clash of styles so far? The Japanese offense, very American-inspired and influenced, and it, to be honest, maybe I'm giving you too much credit, but it seems designed to challenge the nature of Canadian coaches who are used to the 3-down game that has played a little bit differently.
On 1st down, there's Kikuchi throwing up the sidelines. He didn't have many options left for him, so he just simply throws it out of bounds.
And getting Kikuchi flush seems to be one of the keys early on here for Canada to slow down the Japanese passing attack. He's had pretty clean pockets early on in this game, and in fact, it actually looked pretty clean there as well, but on the run, he has not been able to make much happen early on here. So I think generating some pressure up front, even if it's imagined pressure for the Japanese quarterback, is going to help the Canadian attack slow them down, or the Canadian defense, excuse me.
Kikuchi on 2nd and 10, pitches to Minobe. He has some daylight, breaks away from one tackle and spins his way across the Canadian 30.
So this is another good example of what I was talking about with the more American-influenced offensive style, right? It is not common in the Canadian game for you to load up extra backs in your regular offense and to really commit to the ground attack. I mean, obviously a run on 2nd and 10 in the Canadian game is just about unheard of. It's basically a give-up call. And so the Canadians, I think, need to be prepared for that slightly different style of offense here.
Another 1st down for Japan to work with Kikuchi at the controls. 10 seconds left on the play clock. Gets the snap. Minobe gets the call. and he plows his way ahead for another good gain on first down. One of the things we were wondering about was size versus strategy in this battle between Japan and Canada. Right now, strategy's winning out surprisingly with the ground game with good gains on first down.
Yeah, they are, and they're using their personnel to even up the numbers. The Canadians trying to figure out how they want to adjust to that. On the previous play, they had loaded up a bunch of players at the line, guessed wrong, and allowed a big gain. That time they sat back and allowed a chunk too. So they'll have to figure out what their counterpunch is here.
Yahagi in motion. Kikuchi back to pass. Does he have a man just beyond the outstretched fingers of Yahagi, the H-back who was in motion? He has one touchdown reception, and for a relatively big guy for Team Japan, 5'10", 212, he's actually a tangible target for this offense.
Yeah, that's just a missed throw, just a little bit out of his fingertips, or he had him. There's plenty of room there. Really nice play action design there as Yahagi looked like he was lead blocking on the toss that they'd run a couple plays earlier, and he just continues on down the field, wheels it up, turns into a receiver.
3rd down and 6, Japan. Kikuchi setting up the screen, and it is swatted down by Matt Shannon. The big kid from Acadia got his meat hook on it and forces 4th down.
That is a wonderful play by Shannon, not only to sniff that out, but to get himself in the throwing lane and get up and knock that down. Number 4, the linebacker there, starts in the middle of the formation, sees the tackle try to release, and he just sheds that tackle and then jumps up and gets his mitts on it.
There is a healthy wind at the back of Naka, who puts it up and puts it through from 46 yards out. And Japan draw first blood at this World Junior Football Championship, going up 3-0. What kind of response will Canada have when we return? On the uniform of Team Canada, they've taken something from soccer. 3 gold stars for 3 championships. One in 2012, this one in 2016 over the United States in China, and this one, which was an epic 13-7 win over Mexico in Mexico in front of 30,515 fans. Gord, you and I were there to call it. This was a true joy to call.
It was as unique an experience as I've had at a football event in my lifetime. Really, really fun stuff. The atmosphere was incredible, all the way down to the armed guards lining the field that I hoped were unnecessary. But yeah, that was a great game, and it's really cool to be able to say Canada going for a three-peat here in this game.
Dogway Brown bobbles the ball momentarily, regains his composure, and gets it back up to the 19-yard line. So the 19 a lot better than the 1-yard line, because that's where Canada started their last drive, so they'll take that.
Yeah, it's been a tale of 2 possessions in some ways for Canada in terms of the nature of them. They get great field position on their opening possession and squander that with a 3-and-out, and then they get backed up and get into scramble mode in their second possession starting on the 1-yard line. They do a decent job to get it out, but again go 3-and-out. So Canada's still looking for their first down in this game. and they'll have to figure out what they want to do here. I think Gonzalez has missed a couple throws early for various different reasons. They may want to try and find a way to get him to settle in, find a throw he's comfortable with to get into a rhythm here.
First down, Canada, ball at their own 19. Gonzalez has 3 to the left side, but he goes to the right side and finds Falconer at the 32-yard line. Nice stretch out by Falconer to get his mitts on that one.
Yes, a nice zip on that ball from Gonzalez, and exactly what I had just alluded to. This looks like a kind of a day one play, just a quick release, a really nice clean release by Falconer off the line of scrimmage there, and he just runs basically a space route. It kind of looks like a slant, but not a true slant. He just works to the inside leverage on the corner, works himself open, and makes a great outstretched catch. Nice hands there from 84 in red.
First down, Canada at their own 33. They go to the ground and they find absolutely nothing, as plugging up that hole for Team Japan was Nakayama along with Tsunori.
Yeah, the defensive tackle Nakayama comes clean pretty much right away here, and he just gets his hands inside the body of the right guard there, Caden Solveson, who is the hometown boy, University of Alberta player there, number 55. He just loses his chest. Really good hands there from 95 in white. Wins inside, able to shed the block once he controls the chest and make the fairly easy play at the line of scrimmage.
Pepe Gonzalez 2 for 5. He'd like to improve on those numbers on this drive on 2nd and 12. He will right there as he connects with Charles Williams for the second time this game, gaining about 5 back.
His Andre Grasset teammates, we mentioned earlier on a play that was called back, that those two have a bit of a rapport built up here. And this is, again, good stuff to try and get your quarterback in a rhythm. This is just get the ball to your hands quick, get a little chunk here, a lot of quick game stuff for the Canadians early on. Look for them to try and find ways to open it up with a little bit longer developing stuff later here, maybe on this 3rd and 4 right now.
Yeah, nice spot for Canada on that one. Turns it into a 3rd and 4 from the 39. Canada going trips to the right side for Gonzalez to work with. And he will go to the air, has time over the middle, and it is incomplete as he was searching for Jason Bile, and he tripped on that IFAF logo.
Yeah, he did. It looked like he stumbled coming out of his break there, and I think that just threw off his process just a little bit. Working on the in there, and he kind of recovers coming out of the break enough to get his hands on the ball, but I think he was just thrown a little bit off by that, and that's why he's not able to reel it in correctly. And hey, we've seen this a couple times from both offenses, in all fairness, but some missed opportunities there. A couple open receivers missed, and a chance to move the chains there that Canada is not able to capitalize on, so they're going to be forced to punt here again.
Jaden Rice back into the game for his 3rd punt of the afternoon. He's got Yoshida and Katagiri waiting for it, but it will bounce out of bounds. About a 26-yard punt as late flags come down. And let's see what that was all about right in front of the Team Japan bench.
Yeah, some sort
Benjamin
of
Blaze looked like he was getting into it with Team Japan, Gord.
Yeah, he still looks a little fired up. It's exceedingly rare for the team in front of whose bench it is to be called for that foul, so I would brace myself for this to be on Team Canada. And that would be unfortunate. You know, one of the X factors in the game to note there, Canada was about 1 first down away from being able to end that quarter and at least be able to kick with the wind, but instead they kick into the wind, and you saw it there. The wind really seemed to push that ball down off of the foot of Jaden Rice. A short punt, and then with the penalty, maybe an even shorter net punt.
Let's go downstairs to Dave Dawson.
Thanks very much, Jim. Pepe Gonzalez at the controls. And if you remember the start of the second half of the game against Austria, threw an interception, and the team recovered after that. I asked Pepe, I said, you know, how do you navigate through those situations? He said, I'm a calm, cool guy. It actually comes a lot from my father. My dad and I have a great relationship. I call him before every game, after every game. He's really been my coach. He's not my coach, but he's been my coach all the time. And he said the relationship for him makes such a difference, and it's instilled some of that confidence and patience and the ability to overcome adversity, guys.
Thanks very much, Dave. And that was the one thing the Canadian coaching staff was preaching to this team in their last meeting. last night was don't get too high, don't get too low. We know there's a world championship on the line, but find your center.
And I would say that from the looks of it, the body language on the Canadian sidelines looks really good in that effect so far. There isn't a lot of sagging or heads down or anything like that, so I think that that's been so far so good for them.
First down, Japan from their own 39. Kikuchi over the middle, and it is intercepted. Benjamin Blaze, still on his feet, is run out of bounds at the 38-yard line. The second interception of this tournament for Benjamin Blaze from Andre Grasset.
Boy, have we said Andre Grasset already quite a bit. Blaze was one of the guys that when I talked to the Canadian coaching staff, they were raving about this guy and said, you need to watch for this guy. He is a player. And what timing, given that he had just gotten into it in front of the Japanese bench there. The referees did pick up the flags. There was no foul on it, but he's probably a little fired up after that last play, and then that ball sails right into his waiting hands, and that is honestly a pretty bad misthrow from Kikuchi, not a Japanese receiver anywhere really near that throw.
Williams and Carignan wide to the left side. Gonzalez at the controls, looks right, finds Faulkner complete at the 30, down to the 28-yard line. They'll be very close to the first down, depending on the spot.
Some tough running for Faulkner there after the catch. He's kind of been the featured guy in the Canadian passing attack so far today. Not necessarily the guy that jumped off the page when you were looking at the pregame stats, but he has been, I think that's his third reception of the game already here, and really nice job by 84, showing some dynamism and showing some physicality on that last one.
So Canada on the march after some inconsistency on offense. And they will keep it on the ground. The first bounce doesn't work, but there is some daylight for Leonard Lemay, who will sashay his way for a gain of 12 and another first down for Team Canada.
And a great second effort from Lemay there. Japan had him stacked up in the backfield again, just driving off the ball and pushing the offensive line into the backfield. Japan kind of winning the line of scrimmage while Canada's offense has been on the field so far today. That's a trend to keep an eye on, as we thought that the Canadian offensive line with a significant size advantage should be able to control the line of scrimmage. Hasn't been the case so far, but Lemay makes something out of nothing there. The guy that has been basically the sole feature back for the Canadians in this first quarter, somewhat to my surprise.
And that will do it for the first 12 minutes of play here, as Team Canada trails Japan by a score of 3-0, but True North is knocking on the door.
Coach of Japan at Media Day yesterday, and he told me all about the Japan slogan, be brave, be tough, be humble. They love discipline, they love structure, and they really feel that's not only what's impacted them in football, but life overall as a group. Chatting with some of the players, they love that as well. Well, they're in the red zone right now with their backs against the wall. Being brave, tough, and humble will be what they'll need to do in order to keep Canada out of the end zone, guys.
But you know what? Loads of respect for both these teams. One of the great studies is seeing these two teams in dining hall sharing the same space together every morning and every evening, and they're all getting along, and they both brought their best game here to get into the final. There's Gonzalez on play action, throws complete, touchdown Canada! Nathan Carillon from the St. John Giants with his 4th touchdown of this tournament.
Really love the play design there from Canada. They have been trying to establish the run. You get a 1st and 10 in the red zone for the first time today, and you run a little play action. They add Sear, number 18, to help seal the edge, get their man out of the pocket, and frankly, Gonzalez had so much room in front of him. I was actually almost hoping he would run the ball here, but instead he sees Carignan come loose from the coverage and threads a really nice ball into the front corner of the end zone there for the touchdown. Love the throw on the run there from Gonzalez.
And the point after from Jaden Rice is up and through. Canada takes their first lead of the afternoon, 7-3 over Team Japan, just 5 seconds into this second quarter.
And I think it's been a really nice bounce back from Canada after Japan started tough to open this game. Canada settled in nicely. Again, you see that really nice throw, threading it right in front of the pylon from Gonzalez, right on the money. Carignan does a good job to get his feet in. Of course, you only need one in at this level, but nonetheless. And we mentioned number 5 was going to be kind of the X factor for the Canadian offense off the top, already making his impact in this game with that touchdown reception right there.
So we know that Canada faced adversity against Austria and a little bit of adversity here in this first quarter against Japan. Japan has not had to face that same level of adversity. Let's see how they respond on this next possession, their first of the second quarter. Yoshida and Katagiri back, and it'll be number 0, Katagiri, who watches the ball sail through the end zone, giving up a touchback.
So the Japanese offense comes back out, and it'll be interesting to see. One of the things that they have yet to really unlock, their wide receivers have not been involved in the slightest yet in this game, and they've been running the ball fairly effectively, but they have not been able to connect with the stuff over the top down the field yet today. The only reception so far being from the 2 H-backs that we've talked about quite a bit. So it'd be interesting to see what they might have up their sleeves to try and open things up and maybe be a little bit more explosive on offense.
Kei Kikuchi remains in the game at quarterback for Japan, and why not? He has been moving the ball well, just hasn't found the end zone yet. They will keep it on the ground with Takemi Minobe, and Minobe will net out about 2.5 yards on that one.
So some interesting personnel decisions on both sides, with Kikuchi getting kind of the surprise start under center, and then Minobe really carrying the load for the Japanese rushing attack when we thought that Urushibara was probably the guy to focus on a little bit more. And then on the Canadian side, you know, it's only really been Leonard Lemay in the backfield so far. It'll be interesting to see if that changes moving forward.
5 carries, 30 yards so far for Minobe, as Japan will keep it on the ground again for a gain of about 3.
It's Japanese offensive line, or I should say blockers, maybe not just the offensive line to give full credit, but the Japanese offensive line done a really good job getting off the ball, getting vertical, running their feet and displacing the Canadian front. They also give up size on this side of the ball up front, and so I have been quite impressed with their start and the physicality up front from the Japanese so far.
3rd down and 4 facing Team Japan. Kikuchi stands and delivers and finds Shungo Goto for a gain of 8 and another Japanese first down.
I think here you see a quarterback who has played some university football make a really, really nice read. He sees number 52 clean off his right side, knows where his check down option is, and finds him on the quick slant, Kobayashi to the backside there. That is really good fundamental football from Kikuchi to identify the pressure, turn and find his hot read.
Katagiri wide to the right side, Linscott wide to the left. The pitch will go to Goto along the left side. Good for a gain of 3.
That was a good rally on the ball for the Canadian defenders there. They read the motion. Japan motions Momota, number 11, into that play to try and add an extra lead blocker, but the Canadian defensive front flowed with the play really well, attacked, strung it out, and filled. I think it was Suda, the defensive tackle, getting out there to make that play out on the edge. An impressive athletic play from the 6'4", 295-pounder.
Second down and a long 8. Kikuchi on the run, throws, and finds his man, Shingo Momota, at the midfield stripe, and that will move the chains again.
Excellent catch by Momota. He had number 6, Chusen Lacombe, right in his back pocket there, and he made a pretty good play on the ball, too. See that ball flutter out of Kikuchi's hand. I'm not sure if there was a fingertip on that at the line of scrimmage or if just came out weird. So that makes it an even more impressive catch from Momota. Fluttering balls that are not tight spirals, are a lot harder to catch. That's a really nice play from number 11.
Kikuchi 5 of 12 so far this afternoon. They put it on the ground to Gota, and Gota is immediately wrapped up by Sammy Joe Suda.
Sammy Joe Suda, another guy that the Canadian staff had really positive things to say about so far in this tournament as he detaches from his blocker there, and the Canadians did a really good job at the line of scrimmage on that particular play, as if he didn't make that play, there might have been Colby Delvas in there to make that play instead. So a couple Canadians with a chance to stuff that run play.
Second down and 9. Ball at the 50-yard line. Kikuchi. The play breaks up. He's going to use his feet, stays on his feet, and gets across the 45 to the 44 for a gain of 5.
First time we've seen Kikuchi use his feet so far today. A little bit of a shimmy and a good job to break the tackle from Blaze and extend that play, get close to the first down marker. He makes it a very manageable 3rd and 3. And you see on this play, this has been kind of the MO for the Japanese passing attack. Add on extra blockers to create a clean pocket. A lot of on the movement kind of half field stuff as well. They were able to really catch the Americans off guard with that extra protection to open things up in the passing attack.
Makoto Ohashi as cool as a cucumber over on that Team Japan sideline.
Canadians bringing heat here.
On 3rd and 3, Japan should get the first down if they get an accurate spot off that carry by Takami Minobe.
Canadians line up with a pressure front there on 3rd and 3, and the Japanese have a great play call against a pressure front. You get the ball out to the perimeter, away from the extra bodies. It's much more difficult for the second-level defenders to pursue when they're all up at the line of scrimmage, as you see here. And so that's just, as the Japanese, you see the Canadians walk up into pressure there, and you're like, yes, give it to me. I'd love to see the Canadians show some of that and back off in response to this moving forward here.
Iwasaki wide to the left side and whistles. There was 5 seconds left on the game clock.
Timeout. Japan. That's their first team timeout.
So Japan calling a timeout to reset things. Things seem to be rolling for this Japan offense. I wonder what Ohashi saw that precipitated the timeout.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like they were lined up cleanly. I mean, as you know with these things, it could be just as simple as I didn't like what I was seeing in terms of how we were lining up versus the defense, or what our matchup was, or what have you. Sometimes you even, especially in first half, sometimes you may even call a play just hoping to see a specific look and being fully prepared to shut it down if you don't like what you see. We're taking a look here at Minobe. As I mentioned, the surprise bell cow so far for the Japanese. We thought we would have at least seen a little bit more rotation than we have so far, but he's been the guy they've been leaning on. And you can see this is typical of Japanese running backs, but he is a slasher. He only stands 5'7", 155 pounds or so. That is very small by Canadian standards, but he can move, and that can also make guys a little bit more slippery when you got less of a target to aim at. Seems to have been the case to a certain extent so far this afternoon.
39 yards rushing so far, another 9 receiving for Minobe. First down for Team Japan as the rain starts to fall here in Edmonton. That doesn't stop Minobe, who spins like a top across the 30 down to the 27-yard line.
Just a little leak from Minobe there. Japan shows the roll to the right side and then throws back against the grain. And the Canadians added on an extra rusher. He just misses Minobe just enough. Number 6, it looks like, was in charge of covering him there, choosing Lacombe, and he steps a little bit too far before realizing the back wasn't blocking him. He was leaking. Slips out behind him and picks up the easy first down.
Kikuchi pitching to Goto, who just sprints to the sidelines and gets a gain of about 3.5.
This is bread and butter for the Japanese. We've seen this already a handful of times in this game as they add the extra blockers onto the front side of the formation, just try to win the edge on the toss, and largely have been able to do so successfully so far today. So the Canadians need to find a way to answer that, as it has been a real staple of the Japanese attack early on here, and something that, again, with the size mismatch, is probably something they'll want to continue leaning on.
Goto remains in the game at running back as Minobe takes a breather. Kikuchi back to pass, looking to the end zone. Incomplete. That was more of a defensive play by Yosei Takahashi against the Canadian defender, who is now injured and down, and that would be Chuzen Lacombe.
Said his name a few times. He's been pretty prominent here for the Canadians early on, so hopefully okay for them. And I'll be honest, Jim, it's already gotten kind of to the point for Japan where it feels like they're letting the Canadians off the hook a little bit when they go to the air on 1st and 10. I know you, or sorry, second, it was 2nd and 7 there, apologies. I know you want to mix things up a little bit, but your bread and butter so far has been, I know we talked about before this possession, you want to try and find a way to get the vertical passing attack going, but you haven't really so far. And in a situation like that, not the worst time to take a shot, but it does feel, the way this game's gone so far, that that's kind of letting the Canadians off the hook a little bit.
Warren Craney, as we mentioned, a man with 2 gold medals with this Canadian program, looks on 3rd and 7. Flags are down. We got motion all over the place.
And left tackle there, Iwato, not winning any Academy Awards for that performance, as he jumped and then immediately took a knee and put his head down.
On the offense.
Oops.
Number 75.
So the Japanese have put themselves
still 3rd down.
in a long yard situation here. If I'm the Canadians, my front 4 obviously is getting after the quarterback, but my second level guys are watching for leaks, screens, those types of things. Kikuchi's shown some really good things so far in this first half, but what he has not shown is touch on throws down the field to be able to challenge this Canadian secondary. So if I'm the Canadian defenders, that's what I'm looking for first and foremost.
Kikuchi 6 of 14 now, but we do know that he can use his legs on 3rd and 12. Kikuchi has time, steps up at the pocket, and he is snowed under. And the chief enforcer was Carlos MacArthur.
And I think that's exactly what was about to be set up there. The Canadian rush just gets home too quickly for Kikuchi to do this. But Minobe looks to leak to the left side there, and he just doesn't have enough time to pick it up. I think the Canadians might have been in a position to stop it anyway, as it looked like Matt Shannon was in the vicinity tracking Minobe. But really good job from the Canadian front 4 to just beat their men and get home there without having to add extra rushers.
3rd sack of the tournament for MacArthur, forces a Japanese punting situation on 4th and 17. Naka gets it away, an end-over-end kick that is grounded down at the 3-yard line. Great special teams all through the afternoon so far for Team Japan.
That's the 2nd time they've pinned the Canadians very deep in this game.
Canada leading Japan 7-3, and once again, Canada's got a long way to go to find pay dirt here at the World Junior Football Championship. The game plan for Makoto Ohashi, the coach of Team Japan, is working, but only working to a certain extent. They are not producing points from their offensive production.
The difference for Japan so far between this game and their game against the Americans is they have not been able to produce the splash play. They have been getting yardage in chunks, but the Canadians have not yet allowed the big play, which has been what's been lacking from the Japanese offense so far. Pretty efficient, but just missing on stuff downfield and not able to produce explosives so far.
La Postelle snowed under by a sea of white uniforms after a gain of maybe a length of a ball.
And this may have, I was wondering if this might have been the case for the Canadians. It may have been a case of, with the running backs, each of them is going to get a quarter, and then you'll play the hot hand beyond that. LeMay finished the last drive over the quarter break, but La Postelle starting this drive for the first time today, and that may be the plan, something to keep an eye on in the Canadian backfield here. La Postelle, 6.5 yards a carry the first couple games. It's not a step down by any means.
2nd and 10, Canada. Ball at their own 3.5. They are going to go to the air. Gonzalez airs it out, and yes, he finds Jordan Falconer, who's been his #1 target all afternoon, and what a relief for the Canadian offense.
Falconer has shown some great stuff so far today. Really like the throw there, delivery from Gonzalez. He did have a free rusher to the left there, a little pressure, gets it off on the mark, and Falconer, this is at least the second time today we've seen a really good play on the ball from Falconer down the field as he goes up and attacks that and makes sure that the Japanese defender, who was in pretty tight coverage, doesn't have a chance to get his hand in there.
Falconer, the former Calgary Colt, graduate of Henry Wisewood in Calgary, so an Albertan having a good afternoon, and they'll air it out again, and it's just over the head of Charles Williams down at the 20-yard line. But it's nice to see in the sea of Quebecers on this roster, somebody from the local province chipping in.
Forget chipping in, leading the charge in some ways. He's been really impressive so far today, and you can see Williams had some space there and just overthrown. That's a long throw. I'm not gonna fault Gonzalez for that. I should point out, by the way, second play in a row, number 44, Takumi Mikuchi, has been pressuring off the left side here. Got to keep an eye on here.
44 lining up as rush end on your near side on this 2nd and 10 play. Canada will put it on the ground, and La Postelle dances his way across the 35 to the 37 for a good gain of a little over 5.
Good balance there from Canada. I like that they went back to the ground there after taking the shot downfield. Get yourself a chunk. Now you're in a fairly manageable, 3rd and 4 situation. Canada probably fortunate not to get thrown for a holding penalty on that play, as there was a bit of a car wreck in the backfield there. I thought potentially an infraction. Nothing obvious by any means, but it was maybe a little bit fortunate for Canada there.
Zion Dogbe Brown checks into the game at running back for Canada on 3rd and 4 from their own 38. But Gonzalez will seek it through the air once again as it's incomplete. Nice defense provided by Kotaro Tanaka.
I don't love where that ball went on that play in that situation. I mean, a fade ball down the field is usually an early down play that you want to take, put up a 50-50 ball and see if your guy can make a play. That's not really something that I want to take on 3rd and 4. And that may have been play design, that may have been down to the quarterback. I'm not going to speculate on those specifics, but I don't love ultimately where that ball went in the decision to go with that route on that play.
Yuto Yoshida waiting for this Jaden Rice punt. He will take it at the 15. And he will get not much more after taking that punt. So Japan will try to dig their way out with 2:43 remaining in this second quarter, trailing 7-3 to Canada at the World Junior Football Championships on IFAF TV and TSN in Canada.
Well, two facilities going on this week at the World Junior Football Championships. Clark Stadium, the adjacent facility. The seventh place game today, the 50-14, Panama beat Brazil, so they finished seventh. And Canada, too, playing for a fifth today. Score update, 9 minutes left in the game, 38-7. Canada leads Australia. Guys?
That is a long way to go for Panama and Brazil to play the Latin American Championship.
That is, although at least it's what we would call the warm time of year, what they would call winter. It is actual winter in Brazil right now, to be fair.
I would debate whether or not this is the warm time of year here, because I think Lethbridge has appeared in Edmonton with this wind that we are experiencing here at Commonwealth Stadium. There is a storm cell just to the south of us. We hope it doesn't arrive during game time. Japan on first down. Goto is going nowhere. It'll be a loss of 2.
Canadian defensive front starting to make some plays in the running game here, and if they can turn the tide up front there, that's going to be really bad news for Japan, as they've really leaned on that rushing attack, not just today, but throughout this tournament. And Suda in the backfield disrupting that one again before the posse closes in. First time we've said the name Rafael Cazetta today, but he has been excellent the first 2 games for Canada so far as well. He was in on that one, along with Isaiah Cooper, linebacker out of Western University.
And Cazetta out of Vieux-Montréal, one of 20 CJEP players on this Canadian squad. They'll mark it as a loss of 1. We'll call it 2nd and 11, Japan. Goto again gets the carry, and he'll squeeze about 3.5 yards out of that deal.
And Japan's going to have to be careful here. As we mentioned, they've been struggling. They've been searching for explosives and splash plays with no success so far this game. They got to be careful not to fall into that kind of traditional pattern in the 4-down game of run, run, pass. I think if they become too predictable, we thought that they kept the Canadians off balance pretty well in that first quarter. Unfortunately for them, didn't result in a lot of points. They now need to figure out what the next evolution of their attack is going to be here as the Canadians kind of get used to what they're trying to do to attack them.
You wonder how interested Japan are to get to the other end of the field. They burned a lot of clock on this possession. They're facing a 3rd and 6 from their own 20. And they go straight into the line, and once again, the Canadian defensive front is starting to win that battle of size versus strategy.
And here's a crucial point here. Jim, you talked about the wind in this game. We noticed on the last Canadian punt, it was about twice the distance of the punts that we saw in the first quarter. So it is a factor here. Those flags at either end zone are absolutely billowing right now. And Japan has put themselves in a position to have to punt into the wind here from fairly deep in their territory. Canada should be set up, barring something unforeseen here, should be set up with really good field position and a minute, little over a minute on the clock. That is lots of time in the 4-down game, so long as you can move the offense efficiently. Now that's an X factor here too, though. In a short tournament with little time to prepare, you probably have not had a lot of repetition with the 2-minute offense, so that will also be a key. But you can see how those flags are billowing here as we get a very traditional prairie wind in this one.
Well, at Commonwealth Stadium, because that field is just below surface, it's subterranean, it tends to swirl in that bowl. But if you judge it by the flags, Mother Nature has made her mind up that the wind is blowing against Team Japan right now as they tee up this punt.
Yeah, watch for a potential low line drive kick here to try and cut it through the wind and keep it in that bowl as much as possible.
Yude Naka back at his own 4-yard line to get this one away. Oh, and he'll take off with it and then chip it, and that is a great scenario for Team Japan. Once again, great on special teams. That is as good as you can expect.
A little bit of extracurriculars behind the play there. Number 47, Owen Locke, getting into it with Iwato from the Japanese team. Not really sure what triggered that initially, but the two of them, a little bit of extracurriculars behind the play, nothing crazy. But you're right. We see a little bit of a takeoff here from the punter, and with only 4 yards to go, like there was a potential. The Canadians had to force that kick. So a positive for the Canadians that they at least didn't give up the conversion there and force the kick. But with the low line drive, with it being on the run, he's able to coax an extra bounce out of it, and all of a sudden the Canadians are back on their own 30 when it looked like they were more likely to have the ball closer to midfield.
48 seconds, 2 timeouts, and the wind at their back for Team Canada on this first down play from their own 30. Gonzalez sets, throws over the middle, and he finds Faulkner at the Japan 48, but it bounced out on contact.
Tough break there. That would have been a really big strike for the Canadians to get that chunk of yardage we were just talking about back. And Faulkner was wide open. Ball is a little bit low there. Not the easiest catch. Has to kind of play it with the body. And he actually, to be clear, that looked like it was dropped before he hit the ground there. But not the easiest catch, just a little bit low from Gonzalez there down the field. But we have seen this Canadian offense in the second quarter here. Gonzalez not afraid to air it out and has some pretty good touch on these downfield balls. So a dangerous vertical passing attack being flashed by Canada here. Let's see if they can convert.
Good news for Canada. That play didn't burn too much time, and they still have 2 timeouts remaining. Gonzalez looking left side, throws, and it is intercepted. That one was picked off by Tachi Takahara. His first interception of this tournament.
Yeah, Gonzalez upset with himself. I think he stared that down a little bit, and he just misses the white jerseys there. I mean, there are 2 Canadian receivers in that general part of the field, and there are 4 Japanese defenders. You just simply have to get off of that read there, and he just doesn't do it. Had plenty of time, and it's one of those things where I think he maybe just kind of zoned in a little bit too much on one particular read. Almost had too much time, which I know sounds paradoxical, but kind of felt like that's what the case was there. Now, Japan's still up against it here with 36 seconds left.
So flip that field, though, and now Japan, not just with that time, still has 2 timeouts remaining. Kikuchi checks down. There's nothing available, and he'll scramble for maybe a yard as he was tracked down by Matt Shannon.
And Japan kind of signaling what their plans are here, not calling the timeout. They're letting the clock wind here. So I think they just want to run this one into the half and get out of here with it as a 4-point game. Not the approach that I would take, but an understandable one, especially given the wind conditions in your face and the way your offense has been so far in this first half.
And Japan will be happy to run the clock down. Japan will be happy to be within 1 score, but we're talking about the string of losses Japan has had against Canada. They are 0-9 against this Canadian team, but all of those scores, nearly all of those scores are 1-score games. This cannot be good enough for Japan.
No, they need to find a way to get the breakthrough, but I think, like I said, offensively, defensively, they've been keeping the lid on the Canadian attack so far. We've seen a couple of bigger plays, but they've kept it to a 1-score first half against. On offense, they have to find a way to get the ball downfield, and I do wonder, he's been operating the offense pretty well, but I do wonder about maybe seeing Nobuaki Kobayashi in the second half.
For Team Canada, the offense showed at least some rhythm in the second quarter. It was a rough start for them, wasn't it?
It was, and it felt like they seemed to be a little bit surprised by the physicality of the Japanese up front. And, when we did our pregame hit in the bronze medal game, we alluded to that.
Let's go downstairs to Dave Dawson.
Thanks very much, Jim. Joined with Makato Ohashi. How would you evaluate the performance of Kikuchi in your offense so far?
Yeah, every player is the brave and tough attack for them. Yeah, Canada team is a very good team. We will do our best. Continue about that.
Can we expect to see Kobayashi at quarterback in the next half, and maybe some Uruchibara running back as well?
Yeah, I think is that they have the chance that this after half, the second half, I will that they can play the big the break play. I think so.
Thank you very much for your time. Best of luck.
Yes, hello.
All right, 7-3, Canada leads Japan. We'll be back to Commonwealth Stadium. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Commonwealth Stadium here in Edmonton at halftime. The gold medal game in the IFAF World U20 Championship. Right now a close one, a tight defensive battle. It's Canada leading 7-3. Now joining me right now is Tim Anger. He is the chairperson of the Edmonton World Junior Football Championships 2024. And Tim, I gotta say, great job. How are you feeling so far? And your maybe thoughts on the first half of the game so far?
Well, it's everything we expected for a gold medal game. I mean, we knew when the Japanese got off the plane that they came to play. They were almost a military operation, no nonsense, great guys, but they're here to win something. And in the Canada team, we've got the advantage of 150 years of history of this sport, but the world's catching up. So that we knew it was going to be a tight game.
How long did it take to put this event together? Was it weeks? Was it months? When did you start having conversations about bringing this event to Edmonton?
Well, it's been a labor of love for about 5 years, actually. We found out 5 years ago that our bid was successful to host it. And so, we didn't have everything together right away, but slowly but surely we built our committee. We ran a test committee event last year with the Football Canada Cup. We just couldn't be more happy with the way it turned out.
I want to ask you about promoting football internationally. How is events like this helping to do that and growing the game, not just in Canada and the U.S., but overseas as well?
Well, I think the people of my generation, when we were playing high school and minor football, I mean, it was great. You go to university, but that's where it ended. And meanwhile, the volleyball guys are off to nationals and worlds and stuff like that. So now we have the option for our kids that if you want to choose a sport and you're considering football, you too can represent your country. And it's still in its infancy compared to other sports, but you see what you see on the field today is you can play for your country, you can play football, and it's just awesome.
It's good to be back here at Commonwealth Stadium. You're from Edmonton. Does being here bring back any football memories for you here at Commonwealth Stadium?
Well, it's been a dream to use the stadium for an event like this. The city of Edmonton has been absolutely awesome, helping us adapt the field to the American size. My grandfather was an original season ticket holder with the Eskimos back in the day, and we were at 12 rows up at the 55-yard line. It wasn't such a big deal at Clark Stadium, but here, 12 rows up, are you kidding me? So I had a front row seat to the 5-in-a-row Grey Cups that they won, and it's a home away from home for me and has been for a long time.
Well, and I bet you never thought you would see teams from Austria and Japan and other places playing here on this very surface for a gold medal one day. It must be exciting to sort of see the tournament finally sort of reach its climax, I guess.
It is. I mean, it's been a great couple weeks. I mean, you get in the elevator at the hotels, you don't know what language they're going to be speaking. And the kids have been great. Edmonton's been great to the kids. The teams that came in early got to experience the Stanley Cup fever, and they're out on the street. The Australians can't go anywhere without getting Aussied. It's been a lot of fun, and it's coming to a great conclusion.
All right, well, Tim, I want to thank you so much. Great tournament. Thank you for bringing this here, and hopefully it comes back to Edmonton in another few years. I appreciate your time, and any thoughts on the second half, just quick?
Let's go Canada. Might as well finish it off right.
All righty, folks, that's Tim Anger. Right now, halftime here at the IFAF World U20 Championship, 7-3 Canada over Japan. We got a lot more ahead. Stay with us. Welcome back here at Commonwealth Stadium, Canada and Japan. Halftime right now in the gold medal game, 7-3 for Canada at the moment. Now, if you ever watch almost any level of football in Canada, chances are the man beside me had something to do with it. It's Kevin McDonald with Football Canada. I want to thank you so much for taking some time to chat with us. Just tell us about, putting on this tournament, what it means for football in this country.
Well, it's great to be here. Thanks, Matt, for having me on. It's a lot of the heavy lifting have been done. It's my second week with the organization in a full-time capacity. So, hats off to Tim, who you just met from the local organizing committee. His team here has done a phenomenal job. But for me, this is my first real international flavor. So it's been amazing to meet people from around the world who all have a passion for growing this game. And the experience for the athletes here has been fantastic. The coaches, it's really special to see not only what goes on the field, but the things and the relationships that are built with these countries and the kids from each of these countries off the field is pretty special. The sportsmanship, the things that go into it that we don't see inside that 48-minute game are pretty special.
I want to ask, what does growing the game across the pond or across overseas or in the U.S., what does doing that do to help football in Canada? Is it good to grow the game internationally, I guess? Does it help domestically the football ecosystem here in this country?
Yeah, I think it's amazing. As we head into Canada Day, the chance to celebrate, Canada's excellence on the football stage. And to the extent that we can play international competitions, it's beneficial for us to have strong athletes and teams that we can compete against across the globe. So you look at Japan and Austria, they're well-oiled machines that have been working together as a cohesive program for years now. They've got great coaching, great fundamentals, and it's been a process for them to build these programs over time. And you look at Brazil, Panama, Australia that are just getting their feet wet in these international competitions. It's pretty amazing to see, but it's healthy for our growth here at home. We've got a responsibility. Like, great leaders produce great leaders, and we carry that responsibility with us across this country, and that's something I'm going to carry into a big part of what I'm going to carry into this job is just building that next generation of leaders.
I want to ask you, what's sort of your goal over the next couple of years with Football Canada and the sport itself? You said you've just come on sort of in a full-time capacity over the last couple of weeks. What do you want to see happen with football and Football Canada here over the next few years?
Well, I want to see this game exposed to as many people as possible. The sport of football delivers so many great life lessons, and the more kids we can get involved with our game at young ages is amazing. We've got a great opportunity with flag being part of the LA Olympics in 2028. So we've got a lot of work to do to get ready for qualifications for that over the next little bit. So we have to carve out our high-performance pathway very quickly and figure out how we're going to assemble our national teams on the men's and women's side and then go out and qualify. But the spin-off effect of a strong, robust flag program is going to benefit the growth of our tackle programs and the support systems that are needed to shore up our coaching certification, our officiating development. We've got great partners with the CFL, with NFL Canada. I want to make sure that we are all talking and saying the same thing as we explore what our partnerships look like, the synergies for our business and how we grow this game together.
All right, well, thank you very much, Kevin, for joining us. It's been a fantastic tournament, and good luck over the next couple of years with Football Canada. Folks, that is Kevin McDonald with Football Canada. We got a lot more ahead coming up. Still 7-3 at halftime here, Canada and Japan. We're back after this. All right, welcome back here at Commonwealth Stadium. Halftime, Canada taking on Japan, the gold medal game in the World U20 IFAF Championships here at Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton. Now, we just spoke to two gentlemen who have done so much for sport and football, particularly here in Canada, but of course this tournament having an impact around the world, and we do have a special award that's going to be presented. So, Kevin, why don't I let you take it away? Tell us exactly what award we're going to be presenting here right now.
Well, on behalf of Football Canada, Tim, this execution of this international event has been phenomenal. The local organizing committee here in the chair here, you've done a phenomenal job. It's your 35 years of outstanding service to grow the game here in Alberta and across Canada. Football Canada thanks you. So we would like to present President's Award on behalf of Football Canada and its board.
There you go, the Football Canada President's Award being presented here to Tim Anger, who's the chairperson of the Edmonton World Junior Championships 2024. Certainly well deserving. Again, we talked about bringing this tournament here to Edmonton and bringing it to Canada. It took a lot of work. Tim was saying that the conversations kind of started 5 years ago. So a lot of work put into that. Thank you very much. And folks, here at Commonwealth Stadium, players going to be coming out in just a few moments to get ready for the second half. 7-3 right now, first half score. We got more coming up after the break. Stay with us.
Canada leading Japan 7-3 after 24 minutes here at the World Junior Football Championship. Gord, a pretty defensive first half, but one of the remarks that you made late in the second quarter was that Japan kind of let Canada off the hook when Japan had the ball from time to time. What did you mean by that?
Well, I meant that I think where Japan has seen a lot of their success in this first half has been with the creative running attack and then quick passing game and working off of what they've built with that running attack, making use of their H-backs, making use of the backs slipping out of the backfield. What they have been lacking in their offense is the vertical passing game, and it felt like in that second quarter they tried to kind of force that and create vertical passing attack, and it just wasn't there for them. And so I felt like if they maybe stuck with their bread and butter a little bit more, they might have had a little more success in that second quarter than they did, and I think they kind of need to go back to the drawing board a little bit in the third quarter here.
Let's go downstairs to Dave Dawson. He has Warren Craney.
Yes, thank you very much, Jim. Coach, what was the message to your group at halftime?
You know what? We just got to execute. You know, our offense has done some great things. We've had some unfortunate drops. You know, I think those drops are conversions. They're scoring drives. You know, now we basically just need our offense to execute. We know how good they are. We know how talented we are. And they've done a great job this far. We just got to get in the end zone.
As there's a bit of a light rain now, does that change your game plan at all offensively?
No, I don't think so. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to get after them. Coach Marco's made some amazing adjustments, and we're ready to go.
All right, thanks for your time, Coach.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, Warren Craney says doesn't change anything as, well, the only thing that might change for me, I didn't bring a jacket, you guys. And back up to Jim Mullen.
Thanks very much, Dave. You know, Warren Craney had a few rough years at York, and that's something to say the least. But he has found his stride here in the international game, Gord.
Yeah, it feels like he's always just kind of felt at home in this international game, and had a, as you alluded to at the top of the broadcast, had a real record of success in this forum. And so you see the first half highlights here. You know, one of the things that felt a little surprising looking at the halftime stats, Canada only had 4 completions in that first half. You know, and it felt like they were kind of the more vertical passing team, and it felt like we were building on that theme, and yet only 4 completions, fewer yards than the Japanese passing attack on the whole, but the Japanese passing attack was on 10 completions. So a difference in styles, but as Coach Craney alluded to, the Canadians need to connect on some of these downfield passing plays, and they need to execute a little bit better on the big strikes, because we've seen that they are potentially there to be had if the Canadians can capitalize. So you see Japan leading in total offense, but have not been able to turn that into much in the way of points so far.
And penalties have not been a factor. Katagiri will take it at his own 11 across the 20, has some room over the 30, and is finally wrestled to the turf at the 34-yard line. So a decent return equals okay field position for the Japanese to start their first drive.
Yes, first time we've said that today. I thought that the Canadian coverage teams on both kickoff and punt had an outstanding first half, and so Japan able to get a little bit going there on the return game, getting up almost to the 35-yard line. And quickly to our buddy Dave, you're talking to a couple of Vancouverites, my friend. We don't go anywhere without a rain jacket. You prairie guys.
Remaining in the game is Kai Kikuchi at quarterback. And Minobe, his running back, off his left hip. Kikuchi will go to the air looking for that running back Minobe, and there was some contact, and interference will be called on Bright Rakundo.
That was the second potential infraction that the Canadians had on that play, as Kikuchi took a hit in the backfield from a blitzing Canadian defender. Didn't catch the number, but he looked like he may have left his feet to make that hit and go up high there. So Canadians fortunate not to get that call, but just that little bit of a pull there on the underthrown ball, and that is unfortunately has become a little bit of a trend as you see the high hit on Kikuchi there. He got up right away, but now not feeling great, and it may or may not have been Japan's game plan, but we are going to see Nobuaki Kobayashi
automatic first down.
Isaac Pepin on the safety blitz, knocking Kai Kikuchi out of the game. So checking into the game will be Kobayashi, 17 of 30 for 471 in this tournament so far. 4th ranked quarterback in this World Junior Championship. First down, Japan at their own 49. Canada showing blitz, but Japan puts it on the ground with Minobe, and some determined running gets him a gain of close to 9, depending on the spot.
You know, this seems counterintuitive, but as an offensive lineman, I always loved to see the defense walked up when we were planning on running the ball, because they eliminate any gray area when you are zone blocking. And they make it so, okay, there's my guy. I just got to go block him, and we'll find a seam somewhere. And if you fit hat on hat, you usually get a seam. That's exactly what Japan got there.
The carry by Minobe was good enough for the first down. Japan at the Canada 40. It's drifted up and almost completed as Yosei Takahashi climbed the ladder a bit and took a one-arm stab at it.
Interesting. That's exactly the part of the field that we have seen Japan attack a number of times in their passing attack. It's kind of the dead space. I alluded to it in the first quarter at one point, where it's between those second-level defenders, the linebacker level, and then the safety level, and you're trying to hit that soft spot in between. One way to disrupt that is Canada's outside linebackers need to get bodies on the Japanese slot receivers to push them off routes before they get into that dead space.
On second down, it's Minobe again on the pitch, and he'll get pushed out of bounds after a gain of 3.
Seen this a couple times from Japan here today, some speed option stuff. You deliberately leave the front side end, and then you add your blockers onto the next level, get your running back out in space, and have him in a one-on-one with one defender down the field. In this case, it's Benjamin Blaze, which is a guy that I'm sure Canada is happy is out in that position as one of their better defenders at the second level, and he makes the tackle after getting about 3.
It was Saki wide to the right side. The favorite target, Yahagi at H-back. As into the game now is Kobayashi, who throws it complete.
A little bit of an overthrow there from Kobayashi. We can see overthrows in pass designs like this. He has a half roll to his right, and then he has to put his feet in the ground and throw back against his momentum. And that can be a tough throw for a quarterback, especially when you need to get some touch on it. You can see that he had to put some air underneath that to get it over the defenders, and it just sails a little bit high on him. Not the easiest throw, and he is not able to connect with Yahagi to extend the drive.
Naka in to punt. From the midfield stripe, he's got the wind at his back. Little chip shot in for Falconer, who gets it up to the 19-yard line. So Canada leading Japan 7-3 as we get ready for their first possession of this quarter.
Canada going to have a pretty long field to drive here, just inside their own 20 to start this particular drive, and I would love to see them get after it on the ground to start this second half. It felt like they gradually wore the Japanese front down as that first half progressed on the ground after a slow start, so I'd like to see them get it going here again. I think it's LeMay in the backfield to start the second half for Canada.
And it is LeMay that gets the rock, breaks 2 tackles. Flags fly all over the place after a gain of about 9. This one looks like it's coming back.
That's a tough penalty to take, and it's behind the play. Like your running back's already downfield, and you're grabbing on once the defender gets out of your frame. You know, it can be second nature for offensive linemen, but that's a tough one.
Holding. Offense number 57. 10-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
Christian Cote, the center from McMaster.
So somewhat unfortunate for Canada. They looked like they had a good chunk there on the ground on first down, and instead they're backed up 1st and 20 after the holding penalty. Cote 57 gets it to the second level there, and oh man.
The penalty is half the distance to the goal line. We start from the 9.5-yard line.
My O-line union bones are hurting.
So Team Canada 2:45, Australia 7, Team Canada 2 finishes 5th in this tournament. The swing pass into the midst of LeMay, and he shuffles his way up to the 15, setting up a 2nd and 15.
Something to watch out for there. That was not a forward pass. So something to keep an eye on in the future here. Maybe Canada's setting something up there, some sort of a double pass potentially. We actually saw a double pass from Team Canada 2 in their game against Austria earlier in the tournament. So maybe they've been sharing notes, the 2 Canadian staffs.
LeMay hurt himself on that last play. He's hopping around near the Canadian bench. So checking in is Zion Dogbe-Brown at running back. Off the right hip of Gonzalez on 2nd and 14. Gonzalez floats it over the head of Dogbe-Brown, and that'll flip the downs box.
Yeah, second and 13, not necessarily a lot that you have in the book for that. It looked like Canada was just trying to get a chunk and get it inside 10 for the 3rd down play. I would have liked to have seen some more kind of mid-range options on that play. There were a couple short options and then a vertical on the backside. And it just didn't really leave Gonzalez with much to work with, I thought. We also see 23 Charles Fortin in the game in the backfield for the first time here. With Dogbe-Brown splitting out wide on this play.
So Canada goes with a double slot set on 3rd and 13. Gonzalez on the move, throws complete at the 29. This will be close to a first down, depending on the spot, as Charles Williams hauls in his 4th reception of the day. And yes, they move the chains.
Really nice execution from the Andre Grasset teammates there. We've seen flashes of this from Gonzalez in the first half, some really nice touch throws. He seems to like sit-down stuff where his receiver is in front of the defender and he can really thread those balls in there. We've seen it a couple times now. Nice job by both of them and a really good job by Williams to find the perfect depth of route there.
Gonzalez with 28 touchdown passes in CJEP last year. On first down, they will put it on the ground and they will get some yards with Charles Fortin up to the 48-yard line, making the stop for Japan, Yuto Yoshida, or that could have gone even a little bit longer.
I was, I could see Fortin anticipating that his number was being called on this play, as he may have even rolled onto his toes a little bit early on that play, wanting to get his first touch of the game, and he makes it count. About a 15-yard chunk there and a first down. Good to see them getting a new name involved. I am a little surprised we haven't seen an offensive touch for Dogbe Brown yet. 13.3 yards a carry in the first 2 games for him.
On the first down, there is Fortin again, breaking towards daylight, getting a gain of 12, and another Team Canada first down. Fortin coming into this game with 17 carries, 153 yards, and a 9-yard average. And he's cranking them out beyond that average against Japan in this second half.
And boy, I talked about Canada hoping that they were going to get the run game going coming out in the second half. That's exactly what they've done. You know, there was the holding that called the one back, but they have been gashing the Japanese on the ground here. Japan's got to find a way to stop the bleeding here up front.
First down, Canada at the 40. On the ground again. LaPostel this time bursts his way across the 30. And depending on the spot, Canada should have another first down. The Canadians are on a roll here, Gord.
Yeah, the Canadian offensive line starting to take over. They pull the center. Always impressive to say that. They pull the center, Christian Cote, out in front of that play, number 57, to snap the ball and then pull to the edge of the formation effectively and with speed. A really tough skill to master. So that's some impressive work by 57 in red there. And with Canada being able to rotate all these different backs, they can keep this going until Japan stops them. So Japan's got to figure this out, or they're in trouble here.
This drive started on Canada's own 19, and they continue to march. Another burst by Mika LaPostel, the kid from Vieux-Montréal. He'll be about a yard short of that first down marker.
So we saw LeMay start, and of course he hobbled off, so I don't know if it was the plan, but then you got Fortin for a couple, and now you got LaPostel getting involved. Names we haven't necessarily called a lot in the first half, LeMay obviously, but the other 2 names we didn't call a lot in the first half. Lots of weapons in the holster for Canada in the rushing game, if that's what they want to commit to, as they have done so far in this drive.
Second down and 1. On the ground they go. They will get the first down, but not much more, thanks to Mika LaPostel, who's a little charged up after some extra pushes and shoves.
Yeah, he does get the first, or he should get the, did not get the most generous spot. I think he'll still get the first down, but by the nose of the football. And actually, it looks like they're on the stick. They might even mark this short. Canada only needs about an inch here, but he got to the line. That's a little bit of an unfriendly spot for the Canadians by my naked eye, at least. Also, I should point out, I was talking about the running game anyway, and I mean, I would have liked them to commit to it anyway, but again, we talked about the wind being a factor in that first half. Canada driving into the wind has been able to push the ball most of the way down the field without having to push the ball through the air down the field.
So Canada calls a timeout with third down and about 3 links of the chain, thanks to that spot. Let's go downstairs to Dave Dawson.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jim. Bit of an injury update for you. Kai Kikuchi, quarterback for Japan. You saw him on the screen there. He was stretching things out. And his lower back, the training staff was working on it. Still doesn't look like he's going to return anytime soon on the Canadian side. Leonard LeMay had ice on his right knee. The trainer gave it to him. He's back. He's got his helmet on, standing there, and trying to convince the offensive coordinator he's good. But Canada, as head coach Warren Craney said, got 4 running backs they can deploy. And right now, LeMay on the sidelines. Guys?
Thank you for that.
Yeah, Kikuchi reached for his lower back after that hit, and I think it may be like a form of whiplash, basically, with the way he hit the turf. By the way, Warren Craney, while Dave was talking there, gesturing at the officials. I'm pretty sure that timeout was because the Canadian staff had already called the play, assuming that it was first down, and then realized that they were short, and oh shoot, we have to bring in the short yardage team.
On 3rd down and a couple of inches.
Charles Fortin under center for that play.
And he should have it. There was a surge at the 20, and the sticks are waved and moved on.
Team Canada out here reflecting the latest trend in the CFL, which is bringing one of your running backs in, your biggest running back in for short yardage. The Hamilton Tiger Cats pioneering that with Ante Milanovic-Litre, and then the BC Lions this past week with David Mackey doing the same thing. 4-10 that time, pushes ahead for, again, I actually thought he got more than that. Not that it matters, but gets the first down, and Canada with a fresh set of downs here. Let's see if they continue the ground and pound attack that they've been riding so far for most of this drive.
Jose Alejandro Gonzalez, Pepe back to pass. Scanning, throwing, away. And that was a wise idea because no one was open downfield, at least on that right side.
So they try to change it up, get the ball down the field. I would have loved to at least seen some play action there, given the trend. I know I totally understand and have no problem with wanting to mix it up and be somewhat unpredictable, but I would have liked to have seen some play action worked into that, or some sort of run threat at least, to try and draw the Japanese defenders in. But instead they got a coverage look right from the outset, and that's been a strong suit of their game so far in this game.
See if Canada goes back to the ground here on 2nd and 10. Yes, they do. Lapostel will push his way ahead for about 3, leaving a 3rd and long situation for Team Canada.
So this is a bread and butter counterplay for Canada. We saw it earlier on this drive. I talked about on that particular play how Christian Cote, the center, was the puller to the left side. This time it is the right guard, Caden Solveson, number 55, who's out pulling in front of it. So the way you coach that up is you have, it's called a down and around blocking scheme. So you have whichever linemen have a defender in their backside gap will just down block, and if you don't have a defender in your backside gap, you're the puller to lead block, so you can kind of just react to the defensive lineman. Nice flexible blocking scheme there, very effective.
Lapostel in the backfield. Dogbe Brown checks in as well for Canada on 3rd and 8. Lots of contact downfield. Does not draw the flag. The intended receiver was Zion Dogbe Brown.
Quite a bit of hand fighting there, and you just have the Canadians, the Japanese brought blitz. The Canadians picked it up, gave Gonzalez a lot of time. He decided to work the left side of his formation to Dogbe Brown. I'm not sure what he saw in the coverage look there that made him like that side. Dogbe Brown, a smaller receiver, had a defender underneath him. You don't generally like that matchup as a quarterback. I would have loved to have seen him look towards the other side. Carignan had a similar one-on-one on that side.
Good defense there by Higashida. Forces the Canadian field goal attempt from 34 yards. And Rice puts it up, and he will put it through for his 3rd field goal of this tournament. Canada leading Japan by a full converted touchdown here in Edmonton. 3rd quarter action. Let's see what's next from Team Japan when we return to Commonwealth Stadium.
So Canada with a promising drive there, marching all the way down the field in the first possession of the second half, relying heavily on the run. They tried to get the ball into the end zone with the big strike to finish the drive, and we're seeing a little bit of a trend from Gonzalez. We've seen it a few times. We saw it on the pick late in that first half, but you see as he drops back under center, he decides he's working the left side of the field, and there is no deception whatsoever. He's kind of opening his whole body, and his eyes are staring that down. What he does there brings the Japanese safety over into that, makes it a much tougher throw than just a simple one-on-one, and I think even that visual distraction from him coming across the screen in front of Dogbe Brown there may have contributed to Dogbe not being able to reel that one in. So something that I think you would like to clean up a little bit. It's not necessarily that you have to do the look off that people think where you look completely to the other side of the field, but you want to drop back with your body neutral and then open up and look to the target as you were setting up to throw.
Gonzalez, by the way, 7 of 18, 1 TD, 94 yards, and an INT. So Canada will kick this away. And there is Takeuchi getting pulled to the turf at the 25-yard line. Nice stop there by Owen Locke on specials. There you see Team Brazil. Look, the one thing I know about Team Brazil is that they were beaten by Canada 110-0. You know how they reacted to it afterwards? They danced just like that.
Yep.
Just like that. They are thrilled and happy to be here, even after losing to Panama in what can be best described as the Latin American Championship. And there you see Team Indigenous Alberta. A reminder for those of you who are watching live, tomorrow on Canada Day, there will be the Western Canadian Indigenous Tournament right here at Commonwealth and at Clark Stadium. So lots of growth going on in Indigenous football as well in this area.
Yes, and I love seeing the name bars on the back there, and I believe that's the Cree language that we're looking at there. Of course, full credit, even though I am an avowed disliker of this team, but full credit, it was the Edmonton Oilers that first did that in high profile, putting Cree on their jerseys for warm-up a number of years back now, and establishing that precedent. Great to see that tradition carried on here. Should be a great one tomorrow.
So finally, we hear a Let's Go Canada chant from the few thousand that are here in Edmonton, which is nice to hear some spirit from the grandstand. 2nd and 6 facing Team Japan. And that carry from Minobe really going nowhere. Some good Canadian defense there, Gord.
Yeah, and Canada has adjusted to some of the bread and butter stuff that Japan is doing. We've seen this play a number of times. They motion the extra lead blocker and try and pull a quick toss there. Canada has been doing a much better job of setting the edge and forcing the runner back into the teeth of the defense on that play as this game has gone on. Japan's going to have to work something in off of that look to keep Canada at least a little bit off balance if it's going to be effective.
Carlos MacArthur from Miller High School with the stop. Here's the pass over the middle, and it is complete as Kobayashi connects with Momota at the midfield stripe, just short of it.
There's that dead zone Japan's been targeting again. They get that really nicely there just in front of the safeties. Canada has to do one of two things here to adjust to it. They either need to stop playing their safeties at such depth, and this is one of the, we've talked about the conversion from the Canadian game to the American game. I don't find it that difficult personally, and I think a lot of these guys are probably pretty comfortable at this point in time, but one of the places that's very noticeable is in safety play. It is normal to be 15 to 20 yards off the ball in the Canadian game as a free safety. It's not in the American game.
Here's the pass complete to Momota, and he is going nowhere thanks to Wright Rokundo stapling him to the turf after a gain of maybe an inch.
So just to double back to finish my idea there, how Canada needs to adjust to where Japan's trying to attack down the field is they need to do one of two things. Either their safeties need to start playing up a little bit more, play at about 10 yards of depth, not be dropping to 20 and leaving that big opening, or they need to do a better job of knocking the Japanese receivers off their routes within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage to keep that opening a little bit smaller.
Yeah, we haven't seen that physical contact necessarily from the Canadian DBs. On 2nd and 9, it's a passing down, and it's intercepted. Isaac Pepin with the pick, his 2nd of this tournament, and that will flip the field for Team Canada, although Isaac Pepin is slow to get up.
So this is a good example of why I would like to see the safety adjustment there. And Pepin undercuts that ball. We have not yet seen either Japanese quarterback show the ability to effectively move the ball down the field. So as a safety, I think you have the ability to start creeping up and undercut stuff. That's exactly what Pepin does here. Now he's deep downfield, but he makes a really good break on this ball, and from Japan's perspective, like that's the receiver's there, and that's just an underthrow. And unfortunately for you as Japan, if you cannot complete balls like this, you're gonna have a tough time coming back in this game. So really big play for the Canadians, and really big for them to continue the trend of showing Japan that they cannot go down the field in the passing attack right now.
Canada leading Japan after an Isaac Pepin INT. He's back to his feet. We'll see if the Canadian offense is back on their feet when we return to Commonwealth Stadium on IFAP TV and TSN in Canada.
After that timeout, Canada first and 10 on the 29-yard line. Turn it out. To the left. Take it back now, y'all. Warm up this time. Right foot, let's go. Left foot, let's go. Shut down, y'all. Now it's time to get funky. To the right now. To the right. Take it back now, y'all. Warm up this time. Warm up this time. Right foot, 2 steps. Left foot, 2 steps. Slide to the left. Slide to the right. Crisscross. Crisscross. Touchdown, real smooth. Let's go to work. To the left. Take it back now, y'all. 2 hooks this time. 2 hooks this time. Right foot, 2 scrubs. Left foot, 2 scrubs. Hands on your knees. Hands on your knees. Get funky with it.
So, Gord, you like the idea of safety stepping up in the American game. Isaac Pepin must have had you in his headset, in his helmet, because he did exactly that here.
Yeah, and this is, like I said, with the trend from the Japanese here, where they have not really shown the ability to put the ball over the top. The safeties can start to do this, right? And Pepin is watching for that ball to go in the air, and he's immediately feeling comfortable undercutting the intended receiver to go pick that off. That's the second pick that has been an underthrown ball already in this game. Bad trend for Japan.
First and 10 Canada, ball at their own 29. On the ground they go with Charles Fortin for a gain of close to 4, maybe just 3.
There's quite a bit subtly on the line here for Canada in this drive. There's a couple things at play here. One is that we are just under 2 minutes left in the third quarter. They grind out the rest of this quarter, and they have the wind at their back for the remainder of this game. They also picked up a lot of momentum on the ground. You saw them go to it on the first down play there. Are they going to continue to stick with that, or are they going to try and open it up? Especially once they get to that quarter break with the wind at their backs is a dynamic to keep their eye on here as well.
Williams goes out wide to the left side, brings Carillon with him. Here comes the rush, and Gonzalez has nowhere to hide. You talk about safeties getting aggressive. Rio Taro Higashida brings it.
Yeah, this is the busted protection up front for the Canadians. You saw 2 Japanese defenders with a pretty free run here to get the sack, and the Canadians just do not communicate well enough to pick up this blitz. Japan does bring, I think it was 6 on that play, but unfortunately Charles-Olivier Cyr was part of the protection there. He stays out on the edge and doubles on the end, does not slide inside to pick up the inside rusher, and then the right tackle, I believe that was Branson, the right tackle, not able to bump out and pick up number 1 there off the edge.
Higashida with an outstanding first half against the United States with an interception and a forced fumble that led to a touchdown. They go back to the air again, and once again it's Jordan Faulkner with a big catch to get almost back to the original line of scrimmage. 4th and 11 coming up, and regrettable for Canada that the wind is straight in their face right now, but they may let the quarter run out here before they punt.
If I'm Japan, I'm considering calling a timeout here with 1 second left or whatever, because that's basically going to buy you 25 yards of field position.
Yep.
I'm a little surprised they didn't do that.
Well, Japan's saving their timeouts for later in the game, but it may cost them field position. As you see, the Prairie Winds here in Edmonton dictating a lot of the flow of the play. Let's see which players dictate who wins the World Junior Championship. We got 12 minutes coming up.
As we begin the fourth quarter, Canada's 4th and 10. We have penalty flags before the snap.
And welcome back to Edmonton. You see Charles Fortin there getting his ankle back in shape. Had a minor injury with that ankle earlier in the third quarter.
So Canada really got the rushing game going there in that third quarter. Some big chunks, and we have seen 3 names mix in. We've seen Léonard Lemay, we have seen Charles Fortin now, we have seen Nicolas Postel now. Up to 86 rushing yards for the Canadians, a lot of which were in that third quarter. That's a trend that will bode well for them with the lead here in the fourth quarter if they can keep things pounding on the ground. They're going to have to get a stop here first, but they do now have their wind at their back, this Prairie Wind, for this kick.
Let's see how much of a difference it makes behind Jaden Rice, who gets a boot into it, and that thing takes off like a rocket. Yoshida all the way back to his 10-yard line. Did Canada kick their coverage? Absolutely not. Raphael Obey, number 3, Johnny on the spot, puts Japan inside their own 10-yard line.
10 out of 10 coverage, no notes, would watch again. That was excellent by the Canadians, and there's 2 guys who were crucial here. Bright Rakundo, number 2, will enter your screen here shortly, and then Raphael Obey, number 3, comes and cleans up with a very nice tackle. And we talked about it before the break, Jim, but I consider that a pretty crucial strategic mistake for the Japanese coach to not have called a timeout. Love when a prediction for me comes together there, but that ends up being a net, 60-yard punt?
It's got to be a difference of about 30 to 35 yards. So Japan will put it on the ground on first down and start clawing into that back and getting a first down off of the legs of Takepi Minobe.
So this is that toss play that Japan has been running quite a bit of here. Okay, and you can see the Canadians don't set the edge there. It was number 52, Isaiah Cooper, trying to come up and set the edge, but he does not get the outside leverage and allows Minobe to get to the edge there. That is the key for stopping that play for Canada. Have to be disciplined on the edge.
Into the pack, a couple of yards for Japan. At some point, even if they're only down by 1 score, Kobayashi is going to have to put this up against the wind.
Yes, he will, because this We're already down to 11 minutes. This 11 minutes will go by fast if you are not able to push the ball down the field through the air, and ideally through the air in some decent chunks.
We haven't heard much from Tobias Linscott, the outstanding wide receiver who's checked into the game now to the top of your screen on 2nd and 7 as Kobayashi completes it to Momota. It'll be good for a couple, but it'll be well short of the first down, bringing up 3rd down and 4.
Good rally to the ball there, choosing Lacombe. We haven't called his name for a little bit. Obviously back in the game, was getting shaken up in the first half there. Just rallies up on this ball after the quick completion, and a nice secure tackle from the Canadian corner with some help from Isaiah Cooper in there to clean it up. 3rd and 3 here. This is a big one for Japan.
Interesting to see that the big H-back, Ibuki Yahagi, checks out of the game in this case. Kobayashi hands off into the line. It'll be short of the first down, but not by much, as Takeki Minobe almost got there.
Now, this is going to test the risk tolerance of the Japanese coaches, historically a fairly conservative bunch. You've got a 4th and a little less than a yard here, and it looks like they're bringing the punt team out onto the field. Not what I would do here. And I get it, like, you're not built for power football, but not what I would do here.
Well, very few kickers are also built to kick into a prairie wind, although the special teams of Japan have served them very well in this game. And that ball hangs up there at the 40. Just ran out of gas. It was a well-kicked ball that maybe had about 10 to 15 yards taken off of it as soon as it got into the teeth of the wind.
I mean, that thing almost stopped in midair. It wouldn't be the first time I've seen a ball actually change directions entirely in midair, but didn't quite get that far. But that thing, talk about hanging up. And this is why, like, you basically netted 20 yards on that punt, a little over 20 yards on that punt, because you didn't want to try to get a half a yard on 4th down. Again, I'm not coaching this team, so but that is not the way that I would do it. I would find something creative that I could do, or just assume, hey, I can get a half a yard.
Canada goes with 2 receivers each side. They will go to the running game, and here comes Lapostel. He's got some daylight. He's got some running room across the 30-yard line into Japanese territory.
Canada seizing the momentum of a couple of big special teams plays there. Nice stop by their defense. They get the short punt, and they now capitalize on that momentum. And Jim, this feels like a big shift in this one right now. Lapostel from View Montreal, first time he's really gotten it going so far today for a big chunk. We've seen him a couple times for some decent ones, but that's been, I think, probably the biggest rush of the game for the Canadians on the whole. And now it feels like Japan's on the ropes a little bit here. Canada's got to finish this off, but like I said, felt like a big momentum shift there.
If it wasn't the biggest rush, it certainly was the most timely rush so far of this game. First down at the 30, Lapostel breaks through 3 waves and continues to battle towards that first down marker. If he gets a positive spot, he might just have it.
And Canada, the rain is now starting to pick up again here. We're seeing what's us in British Columbia on the coast affectionately referred to as a Scottish mist out here. If it continues to be soggy out here, that run game is going to be of even more importance for the Canadians here. And it gives you all sorts of positives. The clock runs, you keep the ball secure, you take the physical toll on the defense. All good things if Canada can keep that going.
2nd down and 1. Lapostel, he's hitting the backfield. He's not going to be anywhere near that first down.
Big stuff. I think that was Isaiah Nakayama making the stop there, number 95. One of the guys that has been, I think, most impactful in the Japanese front today in the run game. He steps up again there with a nice play at the line of scrimmage. Japanese still have some tools in the toolbox up front. They're quick off the ball. They're good with their hand usage. And I would say on the whole, probably a little bit more experienced, especially the post-secondary level, than a lot of the Canadian offensive linemen. I think you saw a little bit of that there.
So 3rd down at about 1.5, very close to 2. Canada will keep it on the ground. They will smash ahead, and they will get the first down with Charles Fortin. The ankle looks pretty good to me, Gord.
Yeah. Yeah, I honestly, I thought I saw that his shoe was just getting tied. I don't know that it was an injury. We didn't see him limp off or anything, but bread and butter stuff for the Canadians. They go back to their counterplay here and keep it vertical. Fortin of the backs is the most physical, the biggest of the bunch, and probably the most vertical runner. So they bring him in for the short yardage there, and he converts and gets the job done.
First down, Canada. Ball just inside the Japan 20. The give to Fortin. He steams his way across the 10-yard line and should have another Canadian first down.
Yeah, Canadian straight power run here. Sear has been a fixture on the field as the H-back, number 18 for the Canadians. Have not seen him be a factor at all in the passing attack yet, but he has been an excellent run blocker. You see the kick out from Sear there. He scoops the end man on the line of scrimmage and opens that backside hole. I believe that was 91 Ada that he makes the block on. Really nice job from 18 in red to be the key spring on that block, along with the left tackle, Nendu, blocking down there.
First and goal to go, Canada. Ball on the Japan 9.
Stay the course here.
Should we expect more on the ground? A little bit of an awkward handoff there for La Postel between him and Pepe Gonzalez, but
it looked like Gonzalez spun the wrong way. It looked like he opened up to the wrong side there, and it was a really athletic play by both players to make sure that they got that exchange in there. And I don't know whether it was the running back stepping the wrong way or the quarterback opening the wrong way, but to almost do a complete 360 and get that ball in there right in the breadbasket was a pretty good job by Gonzalez.
And they managed to get a gain of 1. Second and goal from the 8.
Down to 5.5 left already here. Canada grinding the clock.
La Postel breaks the first tackle and then steps out of bounds as Higashida was there to escort him into touch.
Yeah, Higashida and Mikuchi there. Just winning right off the line of scrimmage. Canada looked like they were trying to run wide zone there, and Nendu, the left tackle, just gets beat to the outside edge there by Mikuchi to force it to the sidelines there, and that is a double win for the Japanese. Not only did they get the stop, but they get the ball out of bounds. Though I do see the clock continuing to run here.
Yeah, the clock was wound back in, and this is burning a lot of time, which certainly doesn't bode well for Team Japan. The ball placed on the 8-yard line. Third down from that point. And Gonzalez thought about using his feet, and Nakayama would have none of it.
You know what? I think I'm going to guess whether this was Gonzalez's own decision or whether he was coached to do this. That looked like a one quick look. If you like it, nice clean throw, let her go. And if not, get a chunk, keep the clock winding, get it in the middle of the field, and give us a nice chip shot field goal here to go up 2 scores. Smart football there, whether it was the quarterback's decision or on the coach's.
Rice is 3 for 4 on field goals. He's 1 for 1 today. He hit from 34. The placement's down, the kick is up, and it is through from 24 yards out. And Canada takes a 10-point lead with 3:58 remaining. They're getting closer. They're going to get a grip on the World Championship trophy. We will see.
Canada with a calculated and prudent finish to the drive there to make sure this is a 2-score game. And I think the reason they're confident in that is because the way that their defense has played throughout this afternoon. They are essentially challenging Japan, hey, you got 4 minutes left, so the clock is your enemy and you need to figure out how to put 2 scores on the board when you've only scored 3 points so far today. Canada has been reacting well to the run game since that first quarter, and of course has been very opportunistic in the secondary. A couple of interceptions, one from Blaze and one from Pepin. And that has really shown the Japanese repeatedly that there's not a lot that you can get going vertically down the field here. So there are some big-time trends that Japan's going to need to change here in the last 4 minutes if they're going to have a hope. And Canada has essentially just rolled the dice and gambled that they're not going to be able to do it.
But full respect to the Japanese, we thought that Canada, because of their size, could grind them physically. That's not necessarily been in the case so far this afternoon.
Agreed. Canada has had some flashes of taking the game over on offense physically, but has not consistently done so to put Japan completely away here. So Japan still has some life because they've been able to hold on up front on both sides of the ball. Here's the key, though. They don't have time to be able to lean on the run the way that they want to here. They're going to have to figure out some creative ways to get the ball moving downfield here.
Kobayashi remains in at quarterback. He spelled off an injured Kai Kikuchi early in the third quarter. Kobayashi incomplete. He was looking for Teo Katagiri, and rain is now starting to be a factor in this game.
That's not going to help the Japanese cause as you try to get a rhythm pass going there on first down. Just a quick sit down, get the ball out, complete the pass, get yourself to a second and manageable. Second and 3, 4, you have a lot of options in your book. Second and 10, not so much. The drop really hurts there.
Kobayashi throws out to the flat and in and out of the hands of Minobe. And he paid the price for it.
He sure did, and some people would call that football karma after putting it on the ground. Hey, that's 2 drops for the Japanese in a row, and one thing I want to observe here, every single one of the Japanese receivers and skill guys is currently still wearing gloves. And as this rain picks up, this is actually the worst time, is when the rain has just started, and you're used to dry stuff, you haven't warmed up with catching wet balls, your gloves are just getting wet for the first time, and anybody who's driven in the first rain after a dry spell knows that's the slickest. Challenging weather here.
Well, big challenge on 3rd and 10. Here comes the rush. Kobayashi on the run, and he will simply throw it away. He'll throw it away.
I think he was actually looking for Katagiri there. I think he was hoping Katagiri would come back. A little bit of scramble drill there, right? You want your receivers who are vertical down the field to notice the scramble and work back to the quarterback. Katagiri doesn't get his head around, and they're leaving the offense on the field here for 4th and 10. I think they have to, Jim.
Yeah. Well, especially with the wind that is still whipping up right here. Fourth and 10, Japan. Down by 10. Maybe they're trying to draw Canada offside here. Kobayashi has time, flushed out of the pocket. Trying to buy his time, looks up the field and one-hops it in the direction of Tobias Linscott. Maybe the first time we've had an opportunity to talk about Linscott, who was such a weapon against the United States.
Canada very close to taking an undisciplined foul at the end of that play too. I think because that ball was nowhere near the receiver was why they got away with it. But Linscott at the end of that play ends up with his jersey off his shoulder. You see a tug at the end there. The ball is so far offline, I think it's the correct non-call, but I would have loved for my defender to identify that and just go hands off there. Nonetheless, though, Canada just looks to salt this one away. They're up by 2 scores. They're deep in Japanese territory. You don't even really, like a first down pretty much ends it here, but you don't even necessarily need that. You just need to secure the ball.
And they will wisely keep it on the ground. Lap post Stell into the line. He is stopped by Bakuchi.
Now, Japan does have timeouts, so they've used their first one, and they're going to have to reset and put some time back on the clock here, as this clock is still running, despite Japan having called the timeout.
Team Japan, that's their first team timeout.
3:18 on the clock in stadium.
Honestly, it should be a little bit more. It should be about 3:25. And I think that's what Coach Ohashi is maybe trying to communicate right now. Yeah, he's pointing at the clock. He wants them to reset about 5 more seconds on the clock. I think he's actually correct. We'll see if he gets what he's asking for here. Good stop for the Japanese on first down. Canada almost 150 yards rushing now. The way the second half has gone for them has been really changing the nature of the game.
The leading rusher in this tournament coming into this game was Taisei Urushibara. This is where he leaves with a hip injury. This is where Kai Kikuchi, the starting quarterback for Japan, leaves with a back injury. We talked a little bit about the physical challenge on the line. It was actually the physical challenge provided by the Canadian defense of those skilled positions that may have made the difference in this game so far.
Yes, Uroshibara, I think, finishes with just 2 carries on the day, so that's been a critical loss for the Japanese. You know, and the quarterback, you know, Kobayashi played a lot, so maybe not necessarily as impactful, but Uroshibara being missed, I think, is being missed heavily by the Japanese.
2nd and 9, Canada. There goes LaPostel. And he'll be just a couple of yards short of that first down marker.
I was very close with the clock. By the way, they ended up putting 3:26 left on the clock. So after that play, it ticks down to 3:20. And Japan takes another timeout here. So Canada can just about salt this away with the first down. I would, to be perfectly honest with you, if this gets to 4th and short, I would love to see the offense stay on the field and try to get that back-breaking first down rather than kick a field goal that is not functionally going to change much on the scoreline. But I am getting ahead of things a little bit here. Let's see how the 3rd down goes first.
Well, the success of Canada at this tournament can mainly be reflected in coaches that made decisions to send their players to this tournament. Mainly CJEP coaches, a lot of CJFL coaches. The surprising thing about this team, very little U Sports in terms of their presence in this program, at least with Team Canada A. I find that to be a bit of a surprise.
A little bit of a surprise, yeah. Somewhat disappointing, maybe even, but Quebec has certainly turned out, and full credit to the CJEP ranks for really bolstering this roster.
3rd down and about 1.5. And they'll get the first down and more, and a touchdown for Canada. Mika LaPostel with his 3rd touchdown of the tournament, and what is likely the dagger for Team Canada.
LaPostel simply outruns the Japanese defender to the edge there. They're not necessarily trying to get this to the outside of the formation, and Sorato Aida, 91 there, actually does win the edge on the left tackle, but LaPostel is able to just accelerate around him and get to the edge, and he is gone at that point in time. And that should just about do it for the Canadians.
Jaden Rice from Champlain College in Lennoxville, Quebec, in for the point after. Puts it through the uprights. Canada leading 20-3 with 3:16 remaining. The World Championship, Canada's smelling it. It's on the barbecue. It's cooking. Hold on, Canada. 3 minutes away from being a world champion at this IFAF U20. And welcome back, Warren Craney, closing in on what is possibly his 3rd gold medal as a coach of Team Canada. As for Japan, there's a saying in Japanese, gambate. And it does mean gambate nihon, like let's go Japan, but it also means let's dig deep. Let's find the resolve. They're going to have to find a whole lot of it here. Down 17 points with 3 minutes remaining and only 1 timeout left on the clock.
Interesting, the Japanese returner ready to take that ball out and try and go for it all, and was blown dead because he caught the ball in the end zone.
Well, that's a little bit of that gambate spirit we were talking about.
Yeah, he was ready to get after it. 105 yards to pay dirt.
There, Yuto Yoshida.
So Canada looking to finish this one out. Their defense has been stout all day, and Japan is in a situation that they are not well suited for.
They call it touchback.
Got to reset the clock again here.
3:14 remaining, 4th quarter. Canada looking to add another star to that uniform. And Kobayashi didn't like what he saw, took off with it. Maybe is lucky to get a yard out of that deal.
Would have liked for my quarterback to try and extend the play there given the situation rather than taking off as quickly as he did.
And final timeout of the half.
So Japan having to take their final timeout because of that play. Here's the other thing that you would prefer your quarterback do in that situation. It's get the ball out and put it out of bounds, especially once he's on the run.
If there is one play, and it seems to be an innocuous play, that Japan would like to have back again when they take a look at the tape of this, because they won't even see it on the tape, it was letting the 3rd quarter expire and letting Canada kick with the wind.
Yep.
That was a difference of maybe 35 yards or more.
Yeah, it was a critical strategic mistake, and one that is surprising given how detail-oriented the Japanese typically are.
Kobayashi on 2nd down, throws it up and completes it.
Big
and
play.
On the receiving end was Yosei Takahashi, and that'll move the sticks in a big way for Team Japan.
Underthrew that one a hair too, but he got just enough on it to get it there, and Takahashi comes down with it. That would be, I believe, probably the biggest offensive play of the game so far for Japan.
Kobayashi throws incomplete. It was over the head of Momota, who's been probably one of the better targets for Japan tonight.
Japan's going to have to continue leaning on routes like that, like what Takahashi was running. He just worked across the formation. That's a zone splitter, and you try and hit him in one of those gaps as Canada sits back in zones and tries to keep everything in front of them. Take advantage of what the defense is trying to do here. If you're Japan, that's your best hope.
2nd and 10. Kobayashi steps up, hurls it away to stop the clock. He's probably he had some room to run with the ball, probably thinking about the clock more than anything else, and that was a pretty heads-up play.
He also, in that direction, had a check down guy with a bunch of real estate in front of him if he was able to get his eyes reset and notice that before throwing the ball away. But when he didn't see anything vertical downfield, he just kind of went to the nearest sideline and got it out. Ironically enough, what he should have done on the first play of the drive.
Wind in the teeth of Team Japan on 3rd down and 10 from their own 40. 2:44 remaining and a whole lot of points to make up. Kobayashi finally finds Tobias Linscott for the first time this game across the 40, 35, and gets out of bounds at the 34-yard line. So there is a pulse in this Team Japan.
Yeah, Canada tightening up, or loose in the back, giving some space here. They're just bringing 4 as you want to do in this situation, but they're keeping everything in front of them, and that's fine. But you can still pick up big chunks while still in front of the back line of the defense, and that's exactly what the Japanese do. We've got less field to work with here, though, so this is going to start to tighten up on them a little bit.
Kobayashi complete to Iwasaki. And Osaki will just get out of bounds. And Japan managing the clock well at this stage, but they need points, and they need points in a hurry.
Yeah, now if you're Canada, you need to start getting back into a normative defense here. You were playing somewhat prevent, not crazy prevent, but you were playing somewhat prevent here, but you have not only allowed Japan to go down the field, you've allowed them to get out of bounds. And so they've got lots of time on the clock here. You need to start tightening up a little bit more than you have been thus far this drive.
Kobayashi faces 2nd and 3. He's going to try to tee it up deep. He's got a man, and he one-hops it down at the 13-yard line.
Yeah, he may or may not have got his hands underneath that, but it was irrelevant as his feet were already out of bounds.
Shuto Kobayashi, the intended receiver.
Another underthrow, though, right? And that's been an unfortunate theme for the Japanese on a lot of these vertical plays, is that their quarterbacks have not been able to get the ball to where it needs to be.
3rd down and 2. Kobayashi will take off with it. Will he get the first down? No, he will not.
Japan is out of timeouts. They got to move here.
Carlos MacArthur with another big stop. We've heard his name a few times in this second half. Kid out of Regina.
Need a first down here, too. It's 4th down.
Yep, 4th down and 1. Kobayashi thinking of the air, and he likes the air because he connects with Mitsui Osaki.
First catch of the game, just the 2nd of the tournament for Iwasaki. And the Japanese finally getting their wide receivers involved here. They've been exceedingly quiet for the majority of this afternoon.
The clock keeps running, 1:24. And it runs down as Kobayashi will effectively stop the clock as he overthrows Momoda.
Not a bad call there. They've tried to get Momoda. Momoda's kind of been their underneath flat guy for a lot of the afternoon, and they tried to get him again there. I think the incompletion's actually probably better than a completion would have been there unless he was able to get out of bounds.
So there are the medals. Canada, the 3-time champion. Canada has either been 1st or 2nd in every one of these World Junior Championships. The United States came up. They tried to essentially defend their bronze medal from 2018. Finished 4th because Austria finally found a way to the podium. Mexico, we really miss them at this tournament. It's too bad that their business side was not in line that could get them to this tournament, that the planning was not in place for them. And Japan has hit the podium twice. This will be their best ever finish.
Yeah, Mexico was such great hosts 6 years ago. We're so close to that final game 6 years ago on home soil too. It's too bad that they weren't able to come back and take another crack at it. It would have made it would have added another level of compelling storyline to this tournament.
Well, consider this. If Mexico was in this tournament, Japan's first game would have been against Austria. That would have changed the entire face of this tournament. 2nd down. Ball just outside the 9. Pass over the middle, complete, and it is a touchdown, Japan! Yosei Takahashi. Is it too little too late? Well, it probably is, but Japan finally has found the end zone in this World Junior Championship final.
I thought he was brought down short of the goal line there, but they marked it touchdown immediately. Let's see where the knee is down on the tackle here. I think he's short, but calls in, and the Japanese are already kicking the PAT here, so it's going to hold up, and Japan gets on the board.
High snap pulled down by Kobayashi, but Naka misses wide left.
Ooh.
That hurts.
I mean, it hurts a bit, but you're being down 10 versus being down 11.
Yeah.
Aside from the momentum, not a big deal. So not a huge distinction there. But Japan, like I said, had basically failed entirely to get any of their wide receivers, their true receivers, involved prior to this drive. And they finally did on that one. Nice little Goku celebration there, Dragon Ball Z. Very fitting. Finally able to get it involved there. Unfortunately, I mean, I don't want to write anything off, but still being down 11 seems like it's probably likely to be too little too late for Japan.
A number of players from all the other teams have gathered along the sideline, getting ready for the post-game ceremony and the presentation of the trophy for the World Junior Championship. Brazil, the happiest players at this tournament. Here is a short kickoff, and it is pulled down by Canada. That should seal the deal. As coming up with that ball was Blaze, who's had an interception tonight as well.
Been one of the most impactful Canadians, not just on defense. He's a defender by trade, but also very much so on special teams. Has made a couple of coverage plays, had that interception earlier, made a couple big tackles, and now finally that. It's been a real filling the stat sheet type of day for Ben Blaze.
This is victory formation, Gord.
Yep, all that's left to do is kneel it out as the rain is really coming on here, so maybe just about time.
Ward Craney just got the Gatorade bucket. If you were placing a bet in Vegas, the color was orange for the Gatorade that was in the bucket.
And the anthem hit the under, but it was pre-recorded, so. As the fans in the stands start to scramble for cover here, it is really opening up here.
It is Edmonton in June.
Poor Dave Dawson. Pray for him.
Well, I have to go down there and be part of the presentation party, so you'll need to pray for me a little bit later on.
I will be kicking my feet up here.
Another knee taken. 30 seconds. This is going to do it. This is going to do it. It's been 6 long years. But the world came to Edmonton, and Canada gets to add a star. Canada comes to the Klondike and reclaims gold.
Let's call it a day. Game is over.
A happy Canada Day it will be here in 2024. Canada remains the World Junior Football champions, and the dynasty in World Junior Football for Canada is starting to rival the dynasty in World Junior Hockey for Canada, in my opinion.
Well, one of the things in Football Canada's strategic plan 5 years ago was to be leaders in this sport in the world. That's a big statement for humble Canadians. Take a look at this team. Take a look at the way they conduct themselves. Take a look at the record and results. And take a look at the way this championship was organized and executed for these athletes. You can say that Canada is a leader in the football world, period.
And take a look at the representation. Truly have players from coast to coast on this team, all the way through to Newfoundland. Jacob Branton, 64, the offensive tackle, the first Newfoundlander to win a World Junior Football Championship medal. So truly is a truly Canadian representative. Kids from immigrant families, kids who were not born in this country, kids from families that have been in this country since before it was a country. You name it, it is all the beauty of this country wrapped into one.
Canada, back to back to back world champions. They've done the three-peat, folks. The trophy presentation is coming up next here on IFAF TV and TSN in Canada.